Hey everybody, I just wanted to talk to you about my latest additions to my Scribo collection. I just adore Scribo pens. I think that they have the best nibs. I think their prices are in line with their quality. I think they use really terrific materials. And I love the shape of their main models. They have three models, the Lodota. This is the shape of the Lodota, and you see it's sort of it's got curves, right? But they are comfortable and subtle curves when you have them in your hand, and they just look beautiful. You know what? I need to get another pen. Excuse me. I know, it's crazy. Great. Well, I'll just bring the whole tray over. Okay, I'm back. So, I suppose the kind of flagship model of Scribo is their feel, the Scribo feel. And here's the feel, which is also that same curvaceous pen, but it's faceted. And I love the faceted pens, although I probably have 50-50 Lodota and feel pens. So so there's the feel, which is faceted, Lodota, which is not faceted, and then there is this shape, a somewhat smaller pen called the Puma, and it has two facets. So there's a flat spot on either side that doesn't roll. But it also is a thing that adds a little bit of interest to the pen, to an otherwise sort of normal cigar-shaped pen. But you can see here that the Puma is also a smaller pen. It's not quite as girthy, and it's a little bit shorter, at least. Let me just go there. Look, you know me, I'm not gonna get out and measure it. I think the section is pretty similar. I still think the Puma section is slightly smaller than the Feel of the Lodota, but it really feels like a smaller pen. That's the main thing, not how it looks, but how it feels. Then they have a couple of anomalies. So this is, Scriptorum or Universitatum. I'm gonna have to do a cutaway to remember what this is. But this pen it's shaped like the Feel or the Lodota, but it has tiny grooves all the way around. And it has an interesting feel to it as well, because your hands kind of slide along those grooves. Now, oddly, though this is, in the same price range as all the others, there's something about this pen that feels cheaper to me. So I'm not, although I longed for this pen for a long time, I'm not crazy about it because it feels just like a plasticky pen. They're all plasticky pens, okay? But then this, for instance, Feel, it just, that even though it's just acrylic, they use acrylics that have this great depth. And so it just sort of feels richer as I'm holding it. Here's a Lodota in acrylic. And you see their acrylics just have this great chatoyance. I'm not necessarily a fan of the color orange, but my gosh, isn't that great? And then they also do pens that have different patterns. This is Aspagia. It's another Feel model, and I love that material. This is the Milagro. Okay, I didn't mean to sort of do my entire collection here. So, but anyway, so they use great materials. I think I've already talked about this pen in a recent video, the Aquarelle. But really, I want to talk about my most recent pens and also do a little bitty nib comparison. A model that's been around a while that I have wanted to get for various reasons. I think it's pretty. It's another Lodota, and it's called the Ninfea. It's pretty, but also I have a couple of friends who are archaeologists who are excavating in Ninfeum in Italy, so I was keen to get that pen kind of as a remembrance of my visit to their site. And also, you know, it's a Scribo, I love it, so it's cool. And this I got in an 18K fine. Now the 18Ks are stiffer than the 14Ks. I really prefer the 14Ks, but sometimes I want to get a little variety. And then I got this pen, which is also in the feel shape, and it's the Saragozza. And you see it's got this really great rose gold trim. Gorgeous pen. Really, really wonderful pen. And this is in a 14K fine. But the real star of the show is this Piuma. It is an Urushi model they've called the Hane, and it is perfection. It's just perfection. I love this pen. This is going to be one of my favorite pens of all time. I have a handful of Urushi pens in my collection. I actually have lost 2 Nakaya pens, which makes me incredibly, incredibly sad. And this is putting a little patch on that wound a little bit. This also isn't a 14K fine. Their 14K pens are soft, they're flexible, they are just an absolute delight. But I find that even that every pen I get from Scribo has some nuance to it in terms of the nib, how it writes, what the nib width is. Now that can have to do with pressure, it can have to do with how much you use the pen. You know, sometimes pen nibs need to kind of be broken in. But that's one of the things that I want to show you, because these 2 I got, you know, within a month of each other. They both have 18K fine, 14K fine flex nibs, but they write really differently. So let's turn the camera around. Let's have Sherry go look up some stuff to make up for her mistakes and have another sip of my espresso. You know, I know serious espresso drinkers just, but I still like to sip. Cools off a little bit, but I still like to sip. And then I'm going to turn the camera around and show you these pens, how they write, okay? Okay, I want to start with the Ninfea, which is, look at that pretty pen. It's in the Lodota shape. And it has an 18K fine nib. Now, the 18Ks are not flexible, but there's still a little bit of bounce. I would not call them nails. This, by the way, has Waterman, Florida Brew. Oh my God, I can't spell. Anyway, it's Waterman Florida Blue. Great pen, a lot of fun to write with. It'll be great for doing, I do a lot of crossword puzzles and stuff, and I like a somewhat stiffer nib for that. And then we have the Saragozza, also in the Lodota form. And it has a 14 karat fine flex nib. You see it puts down a lot of ink. Now I'm writing with just normal pressure. And it puts down a lot of ink. This I have inked with Robert Oster Bondi Blue. A great ink that has nice shading. I'm pretty fond of Robert Oster ink. Now we come to the Hane, which is in the Puma shape, the Urushi pen, which just feels wonderful. This is the Hane Puma. It is also a 14 karat fine flex. And just with, again, with normal pressure, you can see that though they're both 14K fine, the Puma has a wider line. And it is, boy, I can't remember what ink I have in it. Sorry about that. Might be Oxblood from Diamine, but I don't remember what ink I have in it. Sorry. But it has more flex, and it rides a wider line, and even with normal pressure, I don't know if you can quite see this, but I get a little bit of line variation. So I get from these three pens, two of which have ostensibly the same nib, I get really different writing experiences. And one reason I can't get enough of Scribo pens is because they're beautiful and they come in beautiful materials. But the other is every pen I get feels unique. It writes differently. They all write wonderfully. I have a Milagro, which is in a fine flex, or maybe even an extra fine flex, I can't remember. And it actually writes more like a medium. So when I get a new Scribo, it usually surprises me, and it always delights me.